Welcome to Why Such a Fuss, an exciting new channel dedicated to help individuals and businesses to learn more about data protection in a way that is easy and engaging. I'm Christina from CVG Solutions, and I am a fully qualified data protection professional. I am passionate about educating, empowering, and enabling businesses to thrive. Remember to like and subscribe to this channel and help us to spread the word. Data protection is there for a reason. It protects you, your family, loved ones, customers, employees from coming to harm through the use of personal data. So make sure you click subscribe. Now, get ready to embark on a journey of growth and knowledge as we dive into the world of data protection. I'm delighted to have Laura Palmariello with me today. Laura is a fellow Italian and a data protection consultant. She runs her own data protection consultancy. Laura, welcome to the show, and it's an absolute pleasure to have you. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on board. I'm really excited about this podcast, actually. So, yeah, thanks again. I'm Laura. I am a data protection and IG consultant. I specialize in UK GDPR and GDPR, but also in the Saudi Arabian data protection legislation that came in September last year. I try to bring a calm and practical approach to what can feel like a very, very heavy topic. Especially if data protection isn't what you do as a job. With over 20 years of experience in compliance before I went into GDPR, so from an operational point of view, I bring a very practical approach to things. I try and translate data protection into just very everyday operational language. And that's what I try to do. I'm very passionate about privacy and ethics and human rights, but also very engaged in the fast-moving world of AI. I'm currently working towards my AIGP certification with IAP, just completed my CIPPE, and I've already got my next qualifications lined up. I just like to always be learning. That's just one of my things. And yeah, in relation to AI, I'm just really interested in how we can harness the benefits of our AI while keeping people firmly in the picture. And I know the world of AI is very divided at the moment, but from my perspective, it's here to stay. So we might as well, rather than ignoring it or putting it aside, going with it and seeing how we can educate people and making sure that we keep that human aspect there.
Yes, I couldn't agree more with you. AI, it's here to stay, and so we have to embrace it and make the most of it. And in fact, I believe we have a LinkedIn Live coming up, don't we? I think it's in May, right? Am I right?
Yes, it's in May. I think it's on the 15th of May at 10 o'clock. Very
Yes.
excited about that.
So it's so for for the purpose of our audience, if you are interested, Laura and I will be talking about AI on LinkedIn Live. So just go on another one of our profiles on LinkedIn and you'll be able to find it. So yes, very excited, really looking forward to that. And one of the guest speakers is an AI lecturer. Is that right?
He is, so he's a training provider. He does a lot of online training, but also he's very, very big on leadership and communication. So that's how the AI project came on board and talking about how you can use AI in communication. So he doesn't do anything with data protection. That'll be our part, but he'll be talking about how to leverage AI and use it and communicate effectively.
Fantastic. Excellent. Right. So back onto our topic. So, both Laura and I are very passionate about data protection, in case you haven't noticed that. So today we wanted to use this opportunity to share some insights with you. I believe that I speak for both of us when I say that organizations, obviously this is a general comment, quite generalization, especially in the SMEs environment, they limit their GDPR compliance to a handful of policies and then they carry on as they were before. Or they wonder why it hasn't made any difference to their business. But I've got the policy, so why nothing is happening? And so today we wanted to address the how, the what, and the why of GDPR. So let's start with the why. So the why would be the training that provides you the awareness and provides the organization with the awareness and the understanding in terms of the requirements. And if it's the training is done well, it can also give you a level of applicability to the everyday work activities. The why is also the organization policies that provides directions and guidance to staff. Would you agree
Yeah.
with that, Laura?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's so important that laws and legislation are relatable to people and especially to their jobs and what they're doing. I think we tend to forget the why, but if we think back to, for example, being children, we don't like being told what to do if we don't understand why we have to do it, if we don't understand the why. And that's no different in adults, it's human nature. So whatever you're teaching your staff, whatever you're trying to train them on, try and give them the reason and make it relatable, not only how it benefits the organization, how it benefits them in everyday life. And actually, especially with GDPR, which can be a very boring subject for other people that aren't in the industry,
Yeah.
if you show them how it can actually benefit them in their own personal lives, you'll suddenly find that there is a lot more interest. And then the why is also about culture. So it's that internal shift where people stop seeing data protection as a blocker, but start seeing it as part of how we do things well. So it's not just a box ticking exercise. I see it all the time. It's like, yeah, we'll tick off that box. It's not just about the legislation and being compliant. It's about helping people feel confident in making decisions that protect individuals and also support the organization. And I think a lot of confidence comes from that clarity and consistency.
Yes. And you're quite sort of, when you said, the GDPR is sort of, can be boring, a boring subject, obviously not for us, but like you said, for people outside of data protection. And it's really interesting because, one of the things that I sort of say is that I make GDPR training fun. And so my clients will say, right, I'm going to challenge you on that. How do you make the GDPR fun? And then at the end of the training, he said, yes, you did. I never thought that I would enjoy myself so much in a GDPR training. So that it's really interesting because you can make anything interesting and especially when you're passionate about it. And when people are having fun, they're actually learning more. They're more open to learning.
Absolutely.
So yeah. So there is a way of making GDPR fun. So and totally agree with what you've just said, Laura. So now moving on to the what. So the what is the ROPA or record of processing activities, which capture the purpose of why you're processing the data, the lawful basis, the type of data that you're collecting, where the data comes from, the category of the data subject, for example, whether they're children, whether they're adults, etc., whether they're employees or customers. The data flow map is also part of the what. The risk management framework that the organization or either already has or will have as part of a fully GDPR implementation. Having a DPO on board, whether mandatory or voluntary, data processing agreement with your third parties, vendors, all of that is the what in my
Yeah.
mind.
Absolutely, you are so right. And do you know what, Christina? I can't tell you how many times I've used the word roper in the past few weeks. It's like, it's almost at a point where we can start a drinking game. Every time Laura says roper, we have to take a shot. It's just people ask questions, and every question comes back to roper. Have you done your roper? It's your Bible. It's literally the basis of everything. It's where the practical side of accountability comes in, where the organization moves from saying we care about data protection to actually showing it in a structured and documented way. Policies, the registers, the contracts, the relationships, and all of that turn good intentions into good governance. And, as I said earlier, it's not just about proving compliance to the ICO, it's also about making sure that your own people know what data you've got, why you've got it, and what's expected of them and why they
Yes.
handle it. And that gives you the tools to deliver on the why.
Yes. And actually, if you think about it, you can't, an organization can't really do a privacy notice without having an ROPA because
It's
the ROPA,
impossible. Yeah.
yeah, the ROPA gives you all of the information that you need to put into the privacy notice. Otherwise, the privacy notice is a finger in the air because it's not actually correct. So like you said, the ROPA is your Bible, is your foundation that any organization needs. Even if you are, a one-man band, and even if your ROPA is like two lines, it doesn't matter. But I think if you've got it, it just gives you that level of awareness and understanding. Oh, wow, I'm collecting that type of the amount of times that I've worked with a client and we're building the ROPA, and they come to me and say, "Oh, I didn't know we collected that data. Oh, I didn't know we collected it that purpose." So it really is quite a good exercise to do, even if it's just to get your baseline.
Yeah.
And finally, let's move to the how. So the how is the processes, procedures, and protocols of the organization, is the data breach register, for example, the capture the data breaches, including near misses, their level of severity, whether it's high, low, or medium, when the data breach happened, how it happened, how many individuals were impacted by it, whether the data breach was reportable to the ICO or not. And by the same token, also the subject access request register is also part of the how. And so I use this register to capture, for example, all type of requests, not just access, but also rectification, objection, deletion, etc., so that it's all in one place. Captures when this request was submitted, how long it took to complete it, because in some instances there is a timeline, deadline. The risk register is also part of the how. Is how you record the risks, how you manage and you mitigate those risks. The DPIAs, data processing impact assessment, the transfer risk assessment, the legitimate interest assessment, all of these are the tools that facilitate the what and the why. So this is your how, and I think it's important that organization has these tools in place.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I think this is where everything really comes to life. The how is what keeps
Yeah.
the organization moving in a way that's consistent and trackable. So again, it's not just about having the registers in place, but it's about making sure they are used and
Yeah.
reviewed and understood by the people who need them. So that's where you really see whether what's written in your policy is happening on the ground as well. And you know, quite interestingly, there are a couple of things you mentioned. The subject access request, and you said you track all the other types of requests. People tend to forget that there are other requests. We're getting to a point where the perception is, oh, subject access, but actually we're forgetting about all the other rights, and all the other rights are in the coming. You're getting a lot
Yeah.
of rectification requests, erasure requests, and I find my clients saying, "Oh, I've never had this. What do I do?" So we must always remember that there's a lot of other rights and familiarize ourselves with them.
Yeah.
Um, and risk register, I'm quite passionate about. I find it always very exciting to go through it with my clients because they're like, "Oh my God, and there are all these risks. What do we do?" And I say, "Well, look, this is why you have a risk register, and it's about mitigating them, accepting or not accepting. But this
Mm.
is the exciting part. But everything has a risk. Crossing the road has a risk. So, and
Yes.
that's where suddenly the panic sort of stops. They're like, oh, okay, we can do this. So we
Yeah.
can make decisions. And as long as we justify a document, we're fine. And this is, as I said, this is where it really comes to life. Um,
Yes.
so the other thing I was going to say is the different types of knowledge, and that's really really important because you've got the theory and you've got the practical. If they don't align, then you've got really a problem. So the theory that you're teaching your staff really needs to align with what they should be putting into practice. So really, the how is your chance to close that gap and making everything work in your organization.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the points that you mentioned earlier in terms of they need to actually be using all of these tools, not just about having them, but actually using them. And that brings me to a point that, again, with any of my clients, when I introduce these primarily processes and the tools that belong to those processes, I always ask for the process owner. who is going to own this process, who is going to make sure that this process is enforced, because there is the need of ownership and accountability. Who's going to hold the line, basically. But yeah, absolutely everything you said. I totally agree with that. Yeah. So really, if we conclude this, really providing your team with policies and training is only really 1/3 of the story. They need to be given the understanding, the tools that they can apply into their everyday activities. So I like what you said earlier about translating it into what it means to them. So what does it mean for the receptionist? What does it mean for the sales team, the marketing, the customer service, leadership, HR, operation, etc., etc.? So it has to have meaning for them, because if you think about it, each user or each department will use data, and in some systems, in some instances, is the same data, but for different purposes, for different lawful bases, in different volumes, in different proportionality. Sometimes it's even stored in different systems and also shared with different parties, whether internally or externally. They need to understand what that means to them. And so, as you said, need to be translated into how it practically applies to their everyday work.
Absolutely.
Laura, thank you ever so much for joining us. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you here. Really enjoyed our conversation, and I'm hoping that you will join us again soon. Now, before you go, would you like to let the audience know how they can get in touch with you should they wish to do so?
Yeah, sure. You can just send me an email on laura@dataprivacyexpert.co.uk. And Christina, thank you so much for having me. That was really fun.
Oh, excellent. Enjoyed it. And if you would like to get in touch with me, you can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Just search for CVG Solutions, or alternatively, you can email me at info@cvgsolutions.co.uk. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.